A cell phone, lying in the grass, screen cracked, still lit, and covered in blood. That's what Kevin Johnson found when he tracked his daughter's location on the morning of April 16th, 2022. No Felicia, no struggle, no witnesses, just a phone buzzing with unanswered calls from the people who loved her most. And in that moment, what Kevin knew, something had gone terribly, irreversibly wrong. Now, here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. This is not a story about a woman who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is a story about a predator who had done this before, a system that saw the warning sign and looked away, and a father who refused to stop screaming into the silence until the whole world had to listen. And this right here, this is the part most people never hear about, because cases like Felicia's don't always make the national news. They don't always get the headlines. They get a missing persons report, a few social media posts, and then Konaki, quiet. That's exactly why this channel exists. Before we go any further, if you're watching this and you've never subscribed to this channel, I need you to think about something right now. You almost didn't find this video. The algorithm almost buried it. And the next story we cover, the next family fighting for their child's name to be remembered, it might not reach you either unless you're already here. Hit subscribe right now. Not for us, for them. Because one day a story like this might be the one that saves someone you love. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Felicia Marie Johnson was 24 years old. San Diego girl, born and raised, the kind of daughter who called her dad back every time. The kind of woman her Aunt Betty described as, and I'm quoting here, the life of the party. Very smart. Very intelligent, a beautiful young lady. 6 days before she disappeared, Felicia sat with her family and celebrated her 24th birthday, April 10th, 2022. Laughter, music, the kind of joy you take photos of because you want to remember exactly how it felt. She had dreams, real ones. Felicia was building a career in modeling and entertainment, and like a lot of young women in the gig economy, she was willing to hustle for it, travel for it, take chances for it. So when she heard there were opportunities in Houston, a city 4 times the size of San Diego, full of clubs and agencies and people willing to pay, she booked a flight. April 13th, 2022. She landed in Houston, Texas. She told her family she'd be back soon. She never came back. Now I want you to stop for just a second. Think about someone you love, a daughter, a sister, a best friend, someone who is ambitious, hardworking, someone chasing something better. Would you have seen what was coming? Would she have seen it? Because here's what makes this case so deeply unsettling. Felicia didn't walk into danger carelessly. She was careful, she was smart, and she still never made it home. Stay with me, because the person waiting for her in Houston had been preparing for this long before she ever stepped off that plane. Welcome to Unseen True Crime Stories, where the darkest secrets and untold cases come to light. Consider subscribing and tapping the notification bell. That way you won't miss our next true crime story. His name is Chukwuebuka Nwobodo, 28 years old, southwest Houston, and on the surface completely unremarkable. No visible red flags, no face that screamed danger, just a man with an apartment, a car, and a very specific, very calculated method for finding women who were new in town, alone, and looking for work. Here's how he operated. Nobodo didn't approach women randomly. He monitored online escort advertisements, platforms where women advertised services and expected basic safety in return. He used those platforms to identify targets. Then he moved to Snapchat to make direct contact. Low profile, hard to trace, easy to delete. He reached out to Felicia Johnson on Snapchat. He offered her $500 to meet up, and she agreed. Now, before you judge that decision, I need you to sit with something uncomfortable for a moment. $500 for a meeting through a platform she'd likely used before, with a man who gave no obvious indication of what he was. This is how predators work, not with warning signs written across their foreheads, but with just enough normalcy to feel safe. And here's the part that should turn your stomach. This was not Nobodo's first time. Investigators later discovered that Chukwuebuka Nobodo had previously been investigated for attempted sexual assault. The victim chose not to press charges, so he walked. And whatever might have stopped what happened next didn't. I want you to think about that for a second. There was a woman before Felicia, a woman who survived something, a woman who, for whatever reason, fear, pressure, or exhaustion, decided not to pursue it. We will never know her full story, but we know what happened after. Here's something I need to say directly to you right now. If you're the type of person who thinks, I already know about this case, or I don't need to subscribe, I'll just catch the next one, go to the comments right now and tell me why. Tell me why you're willing to risk missing the one story that could make a real difference. The one case with a detail that sounds exactly like something happening in your city, your neighborhood, your circle. I'll wait, because the people who don't subscribe, they're the same people who find out about these stories too late. On the night of April 15th, 2022, Felicia Johnson walked into CoverGirl's nightclub on West Little York Road in Northwest Houston. She was looking for work. She applied for a dancing position. They turned her down. She stepped outside, called for an Uber, waited, and somewhere across the city, Nobodo was already moving. 2:56 a.m., April 16th, 2022. Felicia Johnson was at the Intercontinental Houston Hotel in the Medical Center District. The Uber that picked her up, Nobodo ordered it, not from his apartment from a completely different address. His old address, Winchase Boulevard, a location he no longer lived at. That was not an accident. That was a man who had thought this through. The Uber dropped Felicia at Winchase Boulevard. Nobodo was already there parked, waiting. When surveillance footage later captured a figure matching Felicia's description walking toward his car, he drove her to his current apartment, 14,935 South Richmond Avenue. The door closed behind them. 5:12 a.m. Less than 2.5 hours later, Felicia's phone connected to a cell tower near Bear Creek Pioneers Park. The phone was moving, but Felicia wasn't driving it. When Kevin Johnson tracked that phone and raced to Bear Creek Park, what he found on the ground would destroy him. The phone was lying in the grass, like it had been thrown from a moving window, and on the screen, on the case, money in the cracks, blood. It had specks of blood that I think came from her finger during the struggle, Kevin later told reporters, his voice cracking under the weight of a truth no father should ever have to carry. Felicia's family contacted police immediately. A missing persons report was filed.
Human remains found in Montgomery County earlier this month have been confirmed as those of Felicia Johnson.
She's the 24-year-old San Diego woman who disappeared while visiting Houston in April of last year, and investigators are still looking for the man charged in her death. Those remains were found in Sam Houston National Forest back on February 7th. Aniela Ruiz is live. What else are you learning tonight, Aniela?
Well, investigators are telling us they hope this brings her family some kind of closure, but HPD continues searching for the man they believe murdered Felicia Johnson. What was supposed to be a birthday trip to Houston turned deadly for 24-year-old Felicia Johnson. She was visiting from San Diego back in April of last year and vanished.
I think we got work to do, and we're ready to do it.
It was Texas EquiSearch volunteers that found Felicia Johnson's purse in Bear Creek Park, close to where Johnson's family found her cell phone. And although Houston police believe the 24-year-old was murdered, they still have not found her body.
Bear Creek Park, it's thick in areas. There's some little roads that go off. There's some little areas that would be simple to pull in and dump something and get out without being seen.
Tim Miller says his volunteers stand ready to search again. The suspect, Chukwuebuka Nwobodo, is charged with murder, but still on the run.
We actually didn't even do call-outs for all of our members because we didn't want the possible suspect to know where we were searching or what we were doing.
According to court documents, here's the timeline Houston police homicide detectives have laid out. On April 16th at 2:56 in the morning, Johnson is last seen at the Intercontinental Hotel at the medical center. She gets into an Uber HPD says was ordered by Nwobodo. He responded, detectives say, to an ad Johnson placed online. The Uber took Johnson to Nwobodo's old address on Windchase. Then he picks her up and takes her to his apartment on South Richmond, according to police. An hour later, his car is seen on surveillance video leaving the complex. And at 5:12 in the morning, Johnson's phone connects with a cell tower near where her family finds it in Bear Creek Park later that day. The next 2 days, HPD says receipts show Nwobodo took out money, purchased supplies, and his internet searches included things like most forested parts of Houston. On May 13th, detectives got search warrants for his car and apartment. He was taken into custody during a traffic stop, but it's unclear when he was released. In the apartment, investigators found very strong support of Johnson's DNA, and in his car, a gun, knife, and shovel.
My fear is now that, and hopefully I'm wrong, this is one of them cases where she's never going to be found.
The search began, but Nwobodo wasn't panicking. He was shopping. Surveillance footage from April 16th and 17th captured him at Walmart and Home Depot, right hand wrapped in a fresh bandage. He told medical staff he'd cut himself opening boxes. Into his cart went a mechanical saw, heavy-duty trash bags, a flashlight, towels, bleach, vinegar, every item a decision. Every purchase a calculation. And when he got home, he sat down at his phone and started searching. What does bleach do to blood? How to be a serial killer? How to kill without getting caught? Most forested part of Houston. Read those searches again, slowly, because that last one, that search would become the most important clue in this entire investigation. And it wouldn't pay off for another 10 months. Police were building a case. The digital trail was real. The DNA evidence was real. The blood in his car, real. On May 13, 2022, officers pulled Nwobodo over in a traffic stop. They searched his vehicle. They found a shovel, a handgun, a large kitchen knife with blood on the blade, blood in the trunk, blood in the back seat. They seized his phone. And on that phone, they found photographs of dead people, a dismembered female, 3 other unidentified individuals. No metadata and no names, no explanation. Houston PD began to consider something that made this case exponentially more terrifying. What if Felicia Johnson wasn't his first? They had him right there in custody, and then they let him go. 27 days later, formal charges were filed. By then, Chukwuebuka Nwobodo had vanished. If this story is making your chest tighten right now, good. That feeling is important. Hold on to it, because what comes next, what investigators found 10 months later in Sam Houston National Forest, is the moment this case went from a missing persons tragedy to something that demands every single one of us pay attention. Subscribe to this channel right now. turn on every notification, not because we're asking you to, but because somewhere out there are 3 people on a dead man's phone whose families still don't know what happened to them. And the next video we drop might be the one that changes that. Don't be the person who finds out too late.
Disturbing details are continuing to emerge regarding a man now charged with murdering and dismembering a woman. This is after taking her to his West Houston apartment. Fox 26's Domly Keith joining us live with a warning for thousands of Houstonians. Domly.
Yeah, according to court records, Felicia Johnson and the man now charged with her murder, they agreed to meet up on Snapchat, and he was supposed to pay her $500. That's according to court records. Well, she hasn't been seen since, and tonight there is a warning for the thousands of Houstonians who work in the sex industry.
Anybody can become a victim of a villain.
That's the first point Precinct 1 Human Trafficking Victim Services Director Catherine Griffin wants to drive home. Let the murder of 24-year-old Felicia Johnson be a learning lesson, and don't think it can't happen to you.
It is so dangerous, and every media outlet should be screaming from the rooftops on how dangerous this is, and let stories like this be known.
Chukwuebuka Uwabado is now charged with murdering and dismembering Felicia Johnson after investigators say her blood was found in his apartment. Court documents show she was last seen April 16th leaving her hotel in an Uber paid for by Uwabado. On April 17th, investigators say he bought a handheld and a power saw, towels and trash bags, and according to court records, even as Uwabado searched the internet for things like, can bleach destroy DNA, and the most forested part of Houston, he also Googled Houston escorts. And there are tens of thousands here.
I would estimate and say anywhere from 70 to 80,000 sex industry workers daily.
That's a lot, just in Houston, Harris County.
Yes.
Griffin wants sex workers to do a few things to stay safe, such as don't meet at a client's home, but most of all, she wants you to know help getting out of this industry is available.
It's very vitally important that individuals know to reach out to us so that we can help.
Well, Precinct 1 can help with everything from treatment to therapy to housing and finding a job. We have contact information for them on our website. Felicia Johnson's body, by the way, still hasn't been found, and her accused killer is still on the run. Reporting live near downtown Houston, I'm Domly Keith.
This is the kind of story Unseen True Crime Stories is dedicated to sharing, not just for entertainment, but for vital, grim lessons. If this story stirred something in you, if it made you think, then you know you need to be here for the next one. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. And if you're still scrolling past without joining, I have to ask, what truth are you afraid to face? What essential understanding are you willing to miss out on? Tell us in the comments. We'll be here continuing to shed light on the shadows, because sometimes understanding the darkness is the only way to find the light. Thank you for watching.